Hello and welcome back. Now today we're going to be installing our 9-inch Summit Racing heater box that has the heater core and fan motor mounted all together on it. Now this may be a good option for some of you that are running older hot rods and drag trucks, or something where you shaved firewall or don't have room on the firewall and you want to install a heater because you still need defroster windows, or you drive around in the cool during the fall, early spring, or even the winter. Because this will mount under the dash. It should give you plenty of room. Now usually you can buy a kit to go with this for the ducting. Now we're doing it a little bit different, but we're going to be installing this unit. And we're going to be going a little bit different. I went with the larger heater instead of going with the defroster because I really wanted something just to keep the windows defogged in the winter time, or when it gets cold and there's a little bit of moisture. But at the same time, being on this, it's a truck. Since it's a truck, we have a smaller cab space, so hitting the windshield first, it'll still heat up the cab very well. So that's what we're going to do, and we're going to go over and install it and see what happens. Alright, as you can see, got a pretty decent heater core in there. This comes off where you can replace the heater core very easy. The fan motor's back here. You can buy all these pieces separate and fix and replace them as you go. And if you come on a classic look, it actually comes with this, and it looks like an old school dial control, so it'll go in with a lot of older style cars and blend in. Comes with its wiring harness already. It's pretty well labeled and going to be easy to go by, so it should be pretty easy install. Now one of the first things you want to do is make sure you have access under the dash. And you're going to want to make sure you got clearance first of all. As you can see, most of everything's gone out of this one. So what we're going to want to do is just kind of move it around and play around. You're going to set it up in here and see exactly where we can get it to fit. Because you got things like your glove blocks might be in the way. And you got some wiring and stuff there. You don't find a good place you can securely mount it to up top. So you're just going to want to spend a little bit of time on your project and see where you can find a good location, because you also got to remember you got the heater ducts going to come off of it and go to where you're going to put them. Or if you got a defrost unit, you're going to run them up under the windshield, right in front of the windshield. If you got the heater ducts, you're going to run them somewhere out on the dash. So you want to make sure wherever you mount the box, you'll have plenty of room to run the ducts. So you want to make sure that, like right here, it'd be bad because that's far back as it go. You're not going to get the glove box close. So let's make sure you spend some time and figure out where everything's going to be before you just throw it up in there. Now you can see I got everything mounted. The ducts are temporarily put on just so I could put the glove box back on and make sure that it fit and it didn't cause any clearance issues. Now honestly, this 9-inch box is actually probably big for this C10. Now this is 80 model C10, and there's not a whole lot of room to mount it properly, but I found a spot and it worked. Now remember, on something like this, if you're screwing straight up into the cowl, remember you want to make sure to put some kind of sealant on the other side to keep it from leaking. On this side, you can see that luckily the brackets that it comes with are adjustable and movable. So since the cowl panel's at an angle, I had to find a flat spot. As you can see, the fan motor is all the way up against the firewall, so I had to mount the bracket differently to attach it, to secure it, but it fits. Again, on the ductwork, it's going to vary upon your application, which size hose you get and everything. Now I'm doing something a little bit different with this because I'm just running straight defrosters. Now for the hoses, as you can see, run off the back. So it's going to drill somewhere through the firewall, and we're going to determine on the other side of the firewall where at, so we can route our hoses where we want them to make sure they don't touch anything that could cut them or burn them. and to make it look a little bit prettier than just having them dangling around somewhere. Now, most everyone should know that when you're running wiring or hoses or anything through a firewall where there's raw edges, you want to do something to protect your wiring and your hoses. So in this case, what actually will work is a valve cover grommet, the larger size. Put a little silicone around it, and then I'm going to pop it in there. Now, I made sure before I put that in there that the hose actually does fit, and that will protect our heater hose. Now, as you can see, we have our hoses routed, our grommets in the firewall to protect the hose. Now, the reason why I'm leaving so much extra and they're laying this way now is because I will be putting inner fenders back in here, and I'll actually have them up back in the stock location and out of the way of everything over here. Now is a good time to make sure all your clamps are tight and to go ahead and start it and check for leaks before you add any more antifreeze and coolant. And then the next step would be the wiring of the switch. Alright, so now the easy part is the wiring. Now they made this super easy. Now on the fan motor, there's a ground wire that you need to attach to the firewall or to the dash somewhere. Now this wiring will plug into the wiring off the fan. And they left us plenty of wire so we can cut to fit where we need it. That way we don't have too much wire hanging around. So the first thing we're going to want to do is find out how much we need to reach the plug-in for the fan, connect it, and give ourselves a couple inches of play so we got a little bit of play in our wiring so it'll be easier to install our switch when we get it where we want it. Now you can see I cut everything to length, and you can see this is how we have it connected. Now this one right here is going to go to a battery or ignition source. I'm going to run mine to an ignition source, that way when I got the ignition off, the fan's not working, I don't have to worry about running down a battery if I accidentally leave the fan on. Now next is our yellow for low, red right here for medium, and our orange for high. Now they put this extra terminal on there and it is not used, so you don't have to worry about that one. Now this is probably just a me thing, but I like to go ahead and wrap some electrical tape around everything, because if you saw earlier, some of the copper terminals are actually exposed. So I just want to make sure that nothing will come in contact with them. Make it a little so nothing shorts out, and it'll be a little bit safer. Now our next step is to mount the switch somewhere. Now take in consideration where you truly want to mount it. I'm mounting it here through this piece of aluminum. Actually where the old heater controls used to be, since there's empty space there, and it'll be easy to get to. Now what you're going to want to do is drill a pilot hole and either change bits and step up till you get to the right size, or use a step up bit to make it easier. Now when installing the switch, one thing to keep in mind, this is threaded all the way down so you can adjust it properly, because depending on the material, the thickness of your material going through, depends on where you want to put this one on the back side. That way it's not, all your threads not sticking out. So whenever you put your little display on it, it'll actually be pretty well flush right with the end of it, and that's about right where you want it, because the dial itself will actually go almost completely flush up against that end there. And I'll show you here in a minute after I get this put in. Okay, and there it is. You can see you can't really see the thread or anything behind it, and all we do is just simple as that. Now once you get everything hooked up, make sure you go over and check everything. Make sure everything's good and tight. Make sure everything's connected well. Make sure it's grounded properly. And you should be good to go. Now keep a watch out, because I will be doing a review on this once I get everything connected and plumbed just like I want it. And I will be seeing how actually this kit works and seeing how warm this heater actually gets. Now that will be variant upon engine temperature. Some people run 160, some people run 195, but we're going to see just how well this kit does, because it looks like a pretty decent heater core. Now I hope this helped lull you out, or helped you decide on what route you want to take, if you want to use this or not, if you want to go through the trouble, if you want to ditch a stock system, go with an aftermarket system, whatever you want to do. I hope it helped you out in your decision. And as always, thanks for watching.